You've heard about it, right? It's been called a miracle drug, the beginning of the end for obesity, and its popularity has absolutely exploded. We're talking about drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. They're changing bodies, they're changing lives, but they've also kicked off this fierce, intense debate. So is this a revolutionary medical breakthrough, or are we stumbling into a really complex ethical minefield? Okay, let's get into it. Maybe nobody captured the appeal of these drugs better than Oprah Winfrey when she said this. It quiets the food noise. That one phrase, it just gets right to the heart of why semaglutide has captivated so many people. See, it's not just about losing weight. For a lot of users, it's about this new sense of control, a freedom from a constant, dominating thought about food. It totally reframes the conversation from just, appetite suppression to changing your entire relationship with eating.
So, how does this revolutionary drug actually work? To really get the debate, you first have to understand the science behind why it's so incredibly effective in the first place.
Okay, so at its core, semaglutide is what's called a GLP-1 receptor agonist. Now, that's a very fancy way of saying it copies a natural hormone that we have in our gut. And you can think of this hormone as a messenger. It sends a message to your pancreas to help control blood sugar. It tells your stomach to slow things down. And here's the big one for weight loss. It sends a signal to your brain that you're full, you're satisfied. The result? You feel fuller for longer, and that constant urge to eat just kind of fades away. And the results are, well, they're staggering. The Step 5 clinical trial, which followed people for 2 whole years, found that those taking Wegovy lost an average of 15.2% of their body weight. Now compare that to just 2.6% for the group that got a placebo. A number like that, it's practically unheard of for a weight loss medication, and it's a huge reason for the drug's meteoric rise. But here's the thing, it's not just about losing weight. And this is where the story gets even bigger. The SELECT trial, it delivered a total game changer of a result. For obese patients without diabetes, taking semaglutide led to a 20% reduction in major cardiac events like heart attacks and strokes. This was a landmark finding. It proved the drug has these profound health benefits that go way, way beyond just shedding pounds. Okay, but what about the real world experience? What are people actually saying? Well, if you look at over 2,000 user reviews, you see a more complicated picture. A clear majority, 54%, say they had a positive experience. But, and this is a big but, a pretty significant group, almost 1 in 4 people, had a negative one. It's a powerful reminder that while the clinical data is impressive, how it affects you, individually, can vary a lot. And this quote, man, it really gives a voice to that 24%. For users like Margie, the gastrointestinal side effects, which are the most common ones, they aren't just a minor inconvenience. They can be so severe that the drug becomes completely intolerable. It's a crucial piece of the story. For some people, the benefits simply do not outweigh the costs. So let's just recap for a second. We've got a drug that is incredibly effective for weight loss and has proven cardiovascular benefits. It sounds like a total win-win. So, why is it so controversial? Why is its use for weight loss sparking such a heated ethical debate? Well, the opposition isn't just one single thing. It's really a collection of serious, complex concerns about the drug's impact on people, on our healthcare systems, and on society as a whole. So let's break down the 4 biggest objections. Okay, the arguments against its widespread use pretty much fall into 4 main buckets. First, the immediate crisis of shortages for people with diabetes. Second, the social critique that it's the easy way out for individuals, devaluing effort. Third, the political fear that it lets governments off the hook. And finally, the cultural concern that it just makes fat phobia worse, reinforcing this idea that thinner is always better. The most urgent objection is really a simple matter of supply and demand. The massive surge in popularity for weight loss has created these worldwide shortages. And what that means is that many people with type 2 diabetes, the very patients the drug was originally developed for, haven't been able to get their essential life-sustaining medication. It's a direct conflict of needs with very, very real health consequences. Then you've got the bigger picture. The geneticist Giles Yeo voices a fear a lot of people have, that governments will just see these drugs as a simple cop-out, right? Instead of making the hard, expensive policy choices to fix the root causes of obesity, like our food environments or economic factors, they might just push a medical quick fix and leave all the underlying problems unsolved. But, like any good debate, that is only one side of the coin. The source paper we're looking at also lays out a really powerful ethical case for prescribing these drugs for weight loss. So let's flip it around and explore the counter-argument. Proponents argue that prescribing semaglutide is ethically the right thing to do for 4 key reasons. 1, it's an effective therapy for serious health risks. 2, it's safer than alternatives like bariatric surgery. 3, it helps minimize the harm from a dangerous black market. And 4, it empowers individuals by promoting their autonomy. And this slide makes a really powerful point by putting the drug head-to-head with bariatric surgery. Now, while surgery can lead to a greater loss of that dangerous visceral fat, it comes with a much higher risk profile, and it's often irreversible. Semaglutide, on the other hand, is a less risky intervention that you can stop at any time. For a lot of patients, it's a much, much safer way to start therapy. You know how this goes, right? When a drug is in super high demand but it's expensive or hard to get, a black market inevitably pops up. People are turning to these unregulated, compounded versions or even outright fakes, which can have who knows what in them and be incredibly dangerous. So the argument here is that providing safe, legal, and regulated access to the real stuff is a form of harm minimization. It protects patients from these much bigger risks. Now this is one of the most compelling arguments, because it totally reframes what the drug is. The idea is that it's not some magic pill that replaces effort, it's a motivational enhancer. By quieting that food noise and making a calorie-controlled diet more bearable, it helps a person actually stick to their own plan. It frees up their mental energy so they can focus on their goals. And that is a powerful way of promoting autonomy, the freedom to choose your own path. And this directly tackles that whole cheating narrative head-on. Using semaglutide is not easy. Success still requires a real commitment to diet and exercise, and it means knowingly taking on the risk of some significant side effects. People who use it aren't taking a shortcut. They're using a powerful tool that requires their active participation and effort to work. Okay, so with such strong arguments on both sides of this, how do we move forward? The source paper suggests a path that tries to balance the incredible potential of this drug with the very real ethical concerns we've talked about. So the recommendation isn't a simple yes or no. It's really a call for nuance. We have to proceed with caution, especially since we still don't know the long-term effects. Access should be prioritized based on a person's total health needs, not just one diagnosis. And this is crucial. This has to happen while we are also fighting weight stigma. The bottom line is this: simply denying people access to a potentially life-changing, even life-saving drug just isn't an ethical solution. Ultimately, semaglutide is more than just a medication. It's a mirror. It forces us to confront our own deeply ingrained ideas about weight, about effort, about health, and what it even means to take the easy way out. The drug is already here. It's changing the world. The real question it leaves us with isn't really whether we should use it, but whether we can use this moment to finally address our complex and often harmful views on weight itself.